Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sybil Amuti.
And don't you just love how I brought in our studio audience today? Those are my friends and family, y'all. They're here to clap it up and celebrate this great girlfriend magic that is happening here on the show. So without further ado, grab something great to drink, grab your pen and paper, and get ready for this week's episode. Enjoy.
All right, ladies, are you ready to have an exciting, riveting girl talk about your amazing new initiative, which I'm so blessed to, I guess, hear about quite early? Are we ready?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Great girlfriends, I am truly excited to be joined today by two dynamic women. I mean, 360 degrees of amazingness between these two ladies. We've got Lisa Price, who is the founder of Carol's Daughter, and we have Latham Thomas, who is a doula and who is an amazing maternal health advocate. And she's a great girlfriend as well as Lisa. And when I tell you, we have so much really impactful information to share today, I'm ready to jump right in. So how are we doing today, ladies?
We are great. It's a beautiful day in Brooklyn today, and I'm just enjoying the sunshine.
I love it. Latham, how are you?
Photosynthesizing.
I love it. You're sending all the vibes our way, Latham. You're sending all the vibes, and it's so good. So, you know, when I first read about this initiative, as I told you prior to our recording, I felt like this was a perfect mashup and really collaboration between two truly dynamic women, both of you very mission-minded and oriented and intentional about the work that you do. And I have seen that time and time again, every step of the way in what you do. And so now with the Love Delivered initiative, I know that we are amplifying our conversation and impact around Black women's maternal health. And the stats are just scared me. Honestly, I read the information and I was still looking over a few things. And it's just so alarming to know that we are suffering so silently and haven't figured out how to really bring voice to it in a major way. So I want to thank you first for seeing the need and stepping in the gap. And then I want to know what we don't know that we need to know as Black women.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you so much for having us be part of the conversation here with the community. And for everyone listening, there's much that we can do. And I think that that's the first message that I would like to sort of, bring to the forefront, because as Black women, as people who are in our communities, as servant leaders, as the crux of community, there's much that we can do, and we always find solutions. And so, what the Love Delivered mission really is solution oriented, is around helping people to lean into resources to be able to take action, for them to feel like they have community, even though we're spread out, but that we will have various touch points throughout the next 3 years, at least, where we're able to share information, convene together, platform issues, but disrupt what's happening in this modern healthcare system, right? That is not serving our people. Yeah. And so what I'm really thankful for is that, Lisa is also a problem solver, and we both have came together like on a text thread, like audio text, because she's really good at that. Like, girl, let's figure this out. Like, what can we do? How do we come together? And it honestly, what you all are finally seeing is like a year in the making. Like, we've been literally, cultivating this baby. We've been building this vision together for over a year, and finally have been able to sort of bring into fruition to you all what work we've been actually laying bricks for this past year. And so, what we don't know, number one, I would say, is that, we have, you said, a voice, right? Like, bringing voice to this issue. We have a voice. Like, each of us can advocate. And so one of the huge things that we're hoping to do is develop advocates. We want people to come to the website. They can go to carolsdaughter.com/Love Delivered, and they can sign up to be an advocate. They can learn about the information, learn about the statistics, all the things that you read about. And they can learn how to find resources to support them, really learning what's happening on the front lines, what we're doing, but also what's happening on legislative, front and on a policy front, and be able to be better versed in information to be able to take action in our own lives, but also within our community, being able to share information to impact others.
Which is important. I think that advocacy is huge because, until we realize that what matters to you matters to me, and it then ultimately matters to us, until we kind of adapt that village mindset, a lot of people will suffer solo and silently and not even understand that there are resources available. So Miss Problem Solver, Lisa, I love that you're taking the love and the intention behind Carol's Daughter, which is a mother-daughter story for sure, even in the build of your brand, and now bringing that forward. That's such a heritage piece to me, to think that what you started, what you really inherited from your mom in terms of values and what you've instilled in your products over the years, you're now passing that message forward of that connectivity in heritage. So I want to know, from that problem solver perspective, how can we tactically be advocates?
Having information and having knowledge. And we have curated a lot of information at the website that Latham mentioned. You go to carolsdaughter.com/love delivered, and information is there. Latham and I are telling our stories. We're telling the stories of other women. We have recorded stories of other women and birthing people, so that they can share their experiences. Because one of the things that I was talking to Latham about in us deciding to do this was, it wasn't until I read Beyonce's article in Vogue about her C-section and the fact that, the organs are sort of moved aside or taken out of your body and then placed back inside. And I was like, wait, what? And I had 2 of them, and I didn't know that was done. And in 2016, I had foot surgery for the first time. I knew everything about my foot. I had to take a quiz before I had surgery to ensure that I was fully knowledgeable on how I needed to heal once I went home. I had a nurse call me and check in with me the first day I was home, the 3rd day that I was home, the 7th day that I was home. When I gave birth both times and had C-sections, I didn't have that. I didn't know what was being done to me. All I knew was, don't lift anything heavier than a gallon of milk over your head for 6 weeks. Go see your doctor in 2 weeks, and they'll tell you when you can resume normal activities. No about my body, what I might feel, what could make things better, what was normal, what wasn't, nothing. And when you ask questions, when you're in the process of asking questions, it's very dismissive. It's like, yeah, don't worry about that. It'll be okay. Oh, yeah, no, yeah, everybody says that. No, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, are you sure?
Yeah.
My leg looked like this when I got here.
Right.
What's happening? And I don't want other people to feel that way. I have beautiful children that I absolutely adore, but I don't have the greatest birth stories. I wasn't in control. I didn't have a voice. I didn't have the say that I wanted to have. Nothing dangerous happened to me. Nothing life-threatening happened to me, but I didn't get to control the process. I was able to control it when I got home. I nursed my children for a very long time, and I was always and still am very proud of that. And I remind them how many years I gave them that golden elixir. I love it. I am just an advocate of being there to help other people so that they have positive experiences. And Latham will echo this as well. It's not about, everyone has to have natural childbirth. No one have a C-section. We only want to deal with people that are giving birth in a kiddie pool in the living room. Like that. That's not what it's about. It's understanding whatever your birth journey is, whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever your doctor says is best for you, but just understanding everything that means and being in control of it so that you go along with it and give consent, it doesn't happen to you.
That's so good. You know, that dismissive, that one word comes up in such high frequency when we have this conversation, because women don't feel heard, specifically us, don't feel heard, don't feel supported, and feel that we're pushed till we get that one sheet of paper that's got a gazillion instructions, and that's at the exit. So you get home and the crying baby and the sheet of paper is all wet with water and stuff. And you don't, what? It's too late. It really is too late to even try to get the care that should have been provided up front. Some people think it's because our pain has been normalized. Other people think it's because we are just not seen or respected in the same way in our birthing process. What do you think it is when you think of cause?
Well, there's many layers to it, but one is that, systemic racism is embedded in our medical system.
Yeah.
And it's like everything else. When we see there is an issue, right? When we go on the news or on social media, we are seeing people lynched before us. And there's a normalization of strewn Black bodies, on TV, like what you would never see them do that to white people. But for some reason, it's okay to put Black and brown bodies on TV like this and normalize, to your point, this idea that it's okay to maim our bodies. It's okay to mistreat us. It's also okay to, put us on display when we've been harmed, when we've been killed. And what that does is it signals to us that this can happen to you. And so the same thing happens when somebody is in a situation whereby they are, in the hospital, they have a near miss, or they happen to pass away. And we go on social media, we watch the news, we hear these statistics and these stories, and it also signals to us, this can happen to you. Yeah. Right. And so what's happening is we are feeling afraid when we shouldn't. We should feel empowered. We are feeling unsupported when we should be feeling community, around us, as well as support of our providers around us. Mm-hmm. And what we need to disrupt is this negligence, the idea that we are impervious to pain, the idea that we do not need the same care as white people, that we do not need quality insurance, that we do not need consistency with providers. Like all of this stuff we have to disrupt because it's happening to us at a frequency that it's not happening to anyone else. Mm-hmm. And so I think that one of the things that we want to do and that we have done is highlight stories, but also tell them from the perspective of also triumph, because we can do this and we're designed to do this, and we must. To save our people, we must do this, and we must be able to, birth in a way that we feel empowered, and not just fight for our survival, but for us to be able to thrive. And so it's not just, as simple as like they're not listening to us. We have hundreds of years of stories to back up that like we are not being centered, and we need to recenter ourselves. And so that's what this work is all about. That's what the work we've been doing at Mama Glow for over a decade, and also make sure that there's access to supports. So having doulas, right? Being able to choose the option for your plan. Like, am I going to go in the hospital, birth center, or at home? I want to be able to make that choice, but actually having choice as an option, right? So people need that. And people need to know that those are resources that they can have access to, questions that they can ask, and also, paths that they can like actually explore. We need to make that normalized for Black people.
Yeah. It's so true. When you think about, like you said, the hundreds of years of us being displayed as strong and capable to weather pain that was unnecessary for us to weather, but we've had to endure. It's hard for us to see that we can get to the other side. But I do feel like this level of empowerment, the information will help to activate us to know our rights and set higher expectations. Something that I think that there on the systemic side, yes. And then on our side, we can set higher expectations. We can use our strength when essential, but not always have to show up so strong. Like that the idea that we got to be so strong all the time. Strength can look really great in vulnerability and safety and connection with knowledge. And so this kind of that for me, I think is a game changer. And even as you were talking, Lisa, because Beyonce shared her story, it made you rethink your birthing story and your experiences and the unknowing of things you just didn't know that, takes place with a C-section. But that awareness needs to be made possible for people. And I also think there's another component, the fiscal possibility. A lot of people feel, I saw this in a Facebook group, we asked questions. A lot of people said that when you look at the economic disparity, like rights are removed, meaning if you don't have enough money to get the doctors that you could get at Lenox Hill with Beyonce, then you don't get the knowledge. And people felt that was okay. Like the more you pay, the more you know. I know you both are like, heck no, but I gotta hear and see what you feel about that.
There have definitely been cases where people have had adequate care, very good care, and did not have positive outcomes because not listened to, even in that setting. So sometimes what ends up happening with this conversation is it's a bit like where we were last summer. And I'll make the analogy as quickly as I can. Last summer, when everyone saw George Floyd murdered, everyone saw it. So we are all home. We were all on quarantine. We couldn't go anywhere. We're staring at our televisions. Everyone sees it. And I don't know if you had this experience, but white colleagues and friends were shocked to find out that my children, my husband, and me experience racism because the assumption was, well, you're of a different economic status. You're educated. You're this. So there was this assumption that it only occurred to certain Black people in certain neighborhoods. Not that it was okay, but there was the that was where it happened. And when they began to learn that we all have this talk with our children, that my son was stopped by the police multiple times for nothing, they were shocked that I can't catch a cab in Manhattan. I can't. I watch them cut through lanes of traffic for somebody else. So when it comes to this topic, more of us are seeing that it is not tied to, well, you were at this hospital instead of this hospital, or you had that doctor instead of this doctor. Great doctor, 6-figure income, education. Because we're just not heard in the same way. And Serena Williams revealing her story where she knew something wrong. And, of course, she must have had fabulous doctors. But I think husband insisting you need to look and see what's going on because she's not comfortable that talking about her today and she's still here because now if Serena wasn't Serena, those blood clots would not have been dealt with. And that's just not right. It's just not right.
Right. I thought about this as, you all mentioned legislation, and my mind just kind of floats, Lisa. I kind of go around the world and back, Latham. I'm like, how do you legislate humanity? How do you legislate respect? How do you legislate recognition? How do you enforce that as law? It's in this process. I found a fog, and I'm sure you all have been sorting through like what that means in terms of law, what that means in terms of policy, and have come up with resources. But I got to tell you, on my side, I was like, what policy makes people see the other? What policy teaches humanity, or how do we do that in policy? And what have you come up with?
Well, I think
you start that one.
I was going to say, I think it's just really interesting, right? That you bring that up of like, how do we legislate for humanity? And the question is, we shouldn't have to, right? Like we shouldn't have to enact laws and be fighting for them to pass to ensure our safety.
Exactly.
To ensure that we survive an experience that is the most innate experience that we could have, the most natural of experiences that we could have, and for that to be seen as a threat to our lives. Fortunately, there are a lot of people, including Representative Lauren Underwood, Senator Cory Booker, Representative Alma Adams, who have been working with the Black Maternal Health Caucus to construct the most comprehensive piece of legislation that would address Black maternal health in the United States, and that's the Black Maternal Health Omnibus Act. It's 13 bills, and each of them addresses a different issue, from veterans to incarcerated people to there's a Kira Johnson Act, which looks at Charles Johnson's wife who died, who was healthy, all the things, went in for a routine C-section and died in the hospital due to medical negligence, right? Mm-hmm. So really also putting provisions in place for accountability. And so we have this package of legislation, right, which was trying to get pushed through. But again, it's like, this should not be a partisan issue. Right? Like everybody should want us to survive, but yet here we are still fighting for our lives. Right. And so I think that, the fact that we have to, write law to protect people, to make sure that they are safe in a process like this is really frustrating, but it's necessary because we live in a country that has actually been characterized as the most dangerous in the developed world to give birth. And has also been described as a precarious place to give birth, right? Imagine living somewhere else. Like I used to think back in the day, if I was going to get injured, please let it be when I get home where I have my insurance and stuff, right? Yeah. And now it's like people look at us, they're like, I don't want to go there for my care. I don't want to get caught up in the US, behind or get sick and have to be stuck someplace in the US because we have not centered, like there is no like care in healthcare and there's no health in healthcare. And right. so we need to fix this for our people. I think that, one of the things that's really important here and that we've been, talking about the whole time is that, people need to know that there are these provisions in place, that folks are doing this work on the ground to fight, but also need to know that there's something that they can do too. They can also contact their representatives to like remind them, like, I endorse these bills. I want to push this forward. But also people can say like, how do I actively divest in organizations and institutions that are not supporting Black people? That like, I'm not going to go deliver in this hospital, or I'm not going to support this institution, or I'm not going to, right? Like figure out like how we can do that to step away from companies that are not supporting us and also lean into and support those who are. And so I think I would love to just acknowledge that Carol's Daughter is the only beauty company of its stature to have aligned with a Black-owned company, right, and foundation that is also driven to support and uplift and advance Black life. Mm-hmm. The only one, right? There's a lot of companies talking about beauty and we love y'all and all the things, and doing all the things on social, but there's a whole nother thing to say, let's actually put money behind it. Let's put impact behind it. Yeah. Let's put, ad spend behind it. Let's put PR behind, let's go out and get the message out there. That is a completely different thing than just making a social post about standing alongside Black people. And it's not enough. Like, it's not enough. Like, people want to see folks investing in our communities. And so this also, I believe, is a model for what it looks like to say yes to Black life. What it looks like to say, you know what? Who is here in the landscape that is actively working within the communities to help bridge some of these gaps, some of these policy gaps, some of these infrastructural gaps, some of these, gaps in terms of like, community access and resource. Okay, who's doing that work? Cool. Let's pour in. Yeah. That is what's important also for people to see, because we should be doing that more. And people need to see Black women who are at the helm of organizations coming together in this way, because we also don't get to see that as often. And certainly not when it comes to our health. We see this and we see a lot of bridging happening, a lot of like, awesome, look at, girl bossing and all the other things and bad B word and all the other things. But we don't see people coming together when it comes to our health and centering a message like this as critical, because none of us are going to be here, okay, if we cannot survive birth, like not that we won't have a community.
Right.
So I think it's so critically important. So I wanted to bring that in because I think that for our communities, from the Mama Glow side and all the folks that we touch, the Carol's Daughter side and all the folks they touch, and the folks who are coming because they see what we have come together to give rise to, it sends a message that you matter. It sends a message that we are making a difference and that we are committed. And I want people to know that. I don't want them to think like, oh, cool, they have a little resource page. No, we have actions that we're taking and that we're actually measuring to make impact in the community. So this is just like us making folks aware of it, but there is so much that we're doing. And we just want folks to know that we're holding them and that we're here to support.
Yeah, that's so good. Listen, yes to Black life nearly knocked me out just now. I was like, oh, that's it. Yes to Black life, right? Yes to Black life. And the wealth of anything we do matters in our bodies. It starts with our health and the legacy that we pass on to our kids around health. And that wealth starts first. So you're absolutely right. Before we start doing the bossing and the entrepreneurial life and pushing all these other things, we have to remember to consider this vessel and what takes place here, because I can't tell you the number of friends and family who've had culture shock when they had their first child and then went, wait a minute, no one told me and I never heard and I didn't know. And we learn so much on this side, but the preparatory work has to happen when we lock, like you said. So I really want to celebrate you, Lisa, because you don't just make us pretty, you make us powerful, girl. You just really have added volume to what Carol's Daughter means and how it moves. And I'm so supportive of the impact that you all are cultivating. And I want to know how great girlfriends can make sure we lock arms and move the needle as well. Because it's going to take that level of voice and volume and also impact to really move needles. And I want to lastly ask you, how can women, great girlfriends, as friends to one another, how can we have these conversations? What should we say when we have a friend who's at the beginning of her journey, or maybe she's starting to make choices? What kind of great girlfriend questions or combos should we kickstart to make sure we're protecting our sisters?
Well, one of the things you can start with is, as I mentioned before, carolsdaughter.com/love delivered, because there's information there that you can send to them and pass on to them for them to read. Mm-hmm. I think it's important that people understand the benefits of having a doula, understanding that a doula is different from a midwife. Mm-hmm. I always hear Latham explain it, so I'm going to see if I do it correctly because I've heard her say it times. But a midwife does everything that a doctor can do when it comes to birthing a child, except for surgery. So as long as the person is having a vaginal birth, a midwife can take you from beginning to end. But if the person needs surgery, a surgical intervention to give birth, then they need the doctor. The doula is not a licensed clinician. The doula is there for support. The doula is there to be your advocate, to speak on your behalf, to help make you comfortable, to help make the birthing people who are in the room with you comfortable, and to guide you through the process. And the beautiful thing about doulas is they've done this before. They're dedicated and there for you. The nurses have done this before too. They do this every shift, every day. This is their job, but they have other moms that they have to tend to. So they can't sit with you and hold your hand and help you breathe and guide you through the pain. The doula can. And because the doula does this every day, they know how to speak to nurses and medical professionals. They know when to be firm. They know when to be extra nice to get what they want. All things that your birthing partner is not going to know because they've probably not done this before. Mm-hmm. So getting that information so you can really make a good decision about your birth is critical. And I think that's something that we can pass on to our friends.
I was just going to say, Latham is so proud of you. Could you see it in her eyes? Like, as you spoke, it's like she lit up. Like you just, I could see the twinkle happen. Latham's like, this is it, Lisa. Great job. That was great. That was absolutely great. Right, Latham?
Lisa knows because she's had personal experience as well. She has had a doula, so it's not like new to her. I think because we get to have these conversations so frequently, it's like, you know, you take that one. Okay, you take that one. So it's nice to kind of like mix it up so I don't have to answer that question all the time. But I think to that point, you know, what Lisa said is so spot on, right? Like, you want to be able to like help people understand what their options are, articulate to them, even if you're not going to do it, which is why it's so important for us to learn regardless of where we are in life stage. Yeah. Because if I know someone and I'm like, hey, I just listened to something. You should listen to this podcast I listened to yesterday, or you should go to this website, right? We know how Black women are, how we use our mouths. That's and right. We use our fingers, right? To text and send out information to like really push something along, grow something, make an impact. And so I think we just continue to do what we already naturally do, but make sure it's informed. And you know, where you see resources, you know, pour in also. Like, we have this beautiful space where people can come. If they want to find a doula, you know, to support their births, that'll be launching soon. If they want to become, you know, a doula, you know, we have trainings throughout at Mama Glow. So we'll be supporting people who are on those journeys to be supports to some of these folks coming through the community. But also, you know, learn the advocacy pieces that are built into the site. There's a 13-page resource guide. People could download that. So get involved in that way. And also donate. We can't do this work alone, right? Like, the work is sustained, but like folks should continue to like, you know, pour in by donating to the program to sustain the doulas and to basically pour into the other families that are going to be coming through this portal, you know, for the support that we've provided. So I think that that's another way too, is to think about like, you know, what giving looks like. And I also want to say that your local community, there may be midwives to be, you know, people who are hopeful and want to do this work, doulas to be. Look to see what your community looks like. What are some programs that are run by people of color or Black folks that I can like pour into and support? Because you deciding to pour into tuition for someone else is not just for them, it's saving future lives, right? It's supporting the future. And so I like to think about like how we can just, you know, pay forward, how we can, you know, think about the community needs in that way. And so if folks feel called at all, if they feel moved by what we're doing, we're not the only ones doing it. Lots of folks are doing this work across the country. So see what's happening in your own community and also lift up what we're doing. You know what I mean? So there's I think enough for everybody, but we definitely want to make sure that if folks, you know if folks are going to the website, that they know that we're here to lift all of us, and we want to make sure that people have what they need to do so. So definitely come to the website. I mean, we can't say that enough. Come to the website because there'll be updates on events. We don't have virtual, in person. We can get back outside. Yeah. But for now, we have a lot of virtual stuff. We had a lot of great virtual stuff around Black Maternal Health Week. We'll continue with that, especially around some of these bigger moments that are important for our communities in terms of celebration. And always expect from us like a tone of empowerment. Always expect from us, you know, a tone of like a space for community, but also this idea that like we're here to triumph. We're here to like, you know, build and feel supported in community and know that we can do this. One of the things that Lisa says a lot, and we do these interviews so much, so she'll also talk about just like that feeling, right, of being seen, of being held, you know, in her ability to do this. I also think about that all the time, that we need to be seen in our abilities to do this. And we need to have examples, and stories help us with that too. So check out some of the stories that have been shared on the Carol's Daughter Instagram and on the Mama Glow Instagram, and also through the website. There's so many stories about, you know, from some of the doulas in our community who have spoken about their own birth journeys. And these are things that just like help us to feel closer to the work, even if we're not going through this life journey, even if I'm not ever going to have any more kids, which I'm probably not. Mm-hmm. For me, it's like, it still moves me to see these stories, right? It makes me want to take action. And so if you feel moved to action, we want you to act. because our community depends on it.
I also think that, especially those of us who have been through the childbirth process, if we have conversations with our friends and with other people who are becoming mothers, and share our experiences with them, we don't have the community that we used to have. There were people that told you how to prepare. There was a person in your village, in your community, in your neighborhood that birthed all of the children. And even if you had a doctor, you could still go see Auntie so-and-so, Mama so-and-so, and, I feel indigestion, and she makes you some tea. We don't have that community anymore. So we get together and we talk about diaper genies and what kind of crib and the stroller. We have showers, we have gender reveal parties, we put posts on Instagram when we're, announcing that we're pregnant, which is wonderful. I'm not saying to stop doing that, but we have to have conversations about the process, what to expect, what to look out for, making yourself available to someone if they have questions. Like I always tell people, and we had a lot of births at Carol's Daughter between 2019 and 2020, it's like 8 babies. Wow. And I told all the moms, if you get stuck when it comes to breastfeeding, if you don't know what to do, if you just text me, call me, I'm here. I am your auntie when it comes to breastfeeding. I can help you with anything, because I don't want somebody to feel alone. I don't want them to feel like they can't ask questions and get help.
Right.
Listen, I understand as a mission-minded woman, I understand what it means to be on a mission and almost feel relentless around making sure that this is impactful and effective and also has long legs, a life to it that my daughter and others can continue to inherit along the way. Because that's what's important, that what I've learned, Lisa and Latham, is that we are the elders at this point. I don't know how we got here. It feels too early. It really feels too early. However, we're here. And saying that to say, I'm bringing it around to legacy. This is the beauty of Black women when we can come together as a collective. When you decided that you wanted to join legacies, that you wanted to join missions, that you want to join minds and impact to bridge your legacy and push it forward. This is the kind of work that keeps us united. So I want to thank you for this display of partnership, this display of impact and connection, because I want more women to understand it's not just always about getting to the bank. It's about building lives, building connection, and establishing a blueprint that other people can build off of. So last time website, where they headed, carolsdaughter.com/love delivered.
Yeah, carolsdaughter.com/love delivered.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lisa and Latham. I'm sending you hearts and all the love in my heart. I can't wait to hug you both once again, sometime soon, prayerfully, and blessings to your families and your kids, and all the best on this mission. And again, more information about how we can support as great girlfriends, do let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great girlfriends, did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast, into the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group, The Great Girlfriends. You follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends and on Twitter at @the_greatGFS. Last but not least, we'd like to thank my amazing husband, Kwaku, Sam and Dilly, and all of you for being a part of the global community that makes us so strong. Please remember to share with your friends, keep listening, and keep being a great girlfriend. I'm Sybil Amuti, and I'm out. Peace.